Poly packs. All right, I have a unique bunch of packs here. I got 6 packs that I got from a collection break recently, and it says Heroes on here, 9/11/01. It's from Chestnut I guess it's not Chestnut Productions or Publications. And looks like it's going to be like commemorative cards for 9/11. And then there's information, I guess it must have been trying to raise money or proceeds go to people like that. So I don't know what's in here. I don't know if they're people that died in the buildings, people who first responders, or if there's just pictures of the Twin Towers or what the deal is. So I'm going to maybe open one pack just to see what it is. And if it's anything good, I'll continue opening them. Because I did try to look these up just to see what might be in here. And I mean, we all have our own, stories related to this. Myself is funny in sort of a weird way of, I grew up in northern New Jersey. I was in the New York area when it happened. I was going to college at the time. I was outside the city, but, I had friends and family who were working in the city at the time. And then I move up north. I'm in the Boston area, and I ended up working a couple blocks away from the marathon bombings. So the last two, I guess, terrorist attacks to hit the U.S. soil in this century, I've been near, or I've been in the vicinity. But luckily, I was not, personally involved with it. I didn't, I wasn't personally impacted by it, so I'm thankful for that. But being down in college, in the New York area, I mean, I was able to see it live. I remember going up to the library when the towers got struck because they thought it was, some sort of plane. Obviously knew it was a plane, but they thought maybe it was like a tour plane or something, or a small plane that hit it. And so I remember going up to the library and seeing, the buildings on fire and seeing them collapse. So seeing that stuff in person, was pretty crazy. And just knowing, I just remember that whole week after, right? Just the smoke. You looking up at the skyline and seeing the smoke that was just coming out of the sky. It's still, it almost became part of the background for that next couple of weeks and things. And, it was pretty crazy. So but I have to admit though, one of the best times I ever had out though in New York City was a week after the attacks happened. I went and visited my friend in the city. We went out, the city was dead. It was quiet. It was kind of like it was during COVID. Like there was nobody on the streets. There was a cop on every corner, but we went out, went to the bars, had probably one of the best nights I've ever had out in New York City. Everybody was friendly. Everybody was happy. It kind of brought everybody together. So, let's see. It looks like these would be people almost like victims here. Harold Chapel Howman. I'm probably saying his name wrong. Looks like he was from Canada and California. He is the task force leader in charge of the California Task Force. So I guess he was helping build back the towers. So he was part of the task force, helped to clear out some of the brush and everything else. So, all right. So these are going to be people who responded to it. So John Marr here. So he must have been a firefighter who perished. And they talk about a little bit about their lives and everything else. John McNeely. So, I mean, these guys, you got to tip your cap to them. I mean, going up there, I don't know why they have a picture of California and all this. What does this have to do with anything? But, these guys went in there knowing what was going on, knowing that there was, by the time that second tower got hit, there was no doubt about it was a terrorist attack, right? The first tower got hit, nobody really knew what was going on. You knew it was trouble. But by the time that second tower got hit, there was no doubt about it. And, you know, and you got to tip your cap to these guys for just going in there, trying to get as many people out as they could. You know, who knows how many people they got out of there alive. And this guy must have worked in the building itself. And, you know, obviously, I think, who was it? It was a big reinsurance company. Arthur J. Gallagher, I think, had a big building up in there, or a big office up in there that lost a lot of people. I can't remember all the stuff, but, you know, and a lot of innocent people. You know, you can't imagine just going to work on a Monday. It was a beautiful day, too. It was, right? It was one of the best days you could ever have. And you're just going to work and this happens, right? Horrible, horrible, horrible. But I'm not going to open too many more of these because it doesn't look like, I mean, I really don't know who the people are. And, you know, at the one hand, it's nice to kind of, that there are these kind of cards to memorialize these people. Because again, and then I guess they're throwing in these random other causes in here, which is, I don't know, not... to me, it wouldn't be the theme of what you're trying to do here, right? You're trying to sell these cards, probably raise money for the family's victims, probably raise money for the first responders. And I know they're going through a lot of health issues, a lot of the guys who are on that, who are there. But, oh yeah, there's the towers, the lights that they had shooting up. And you can see those from far away. But, and there they are, the towers, the lights going. But he must have been a first responder as well. So, I mean, great for them for doing this and, you know, hopefully helping raise some money and giving people some exposure to who died. But, and I do know some, and like I said, growing up in that area and being in the northern New Jersey area, and you know, my sister was working in the city at the time, and I had a lot of, you know, friends and family. I remember that whole day was just officers responding. So I knew of people in and around that city, but I was probably 2 or 3 degrees separated from anybody who died. So I didn't know a lot of people directly that were involved. And I've actually met a couple of people up here that had friends and family who were firefighters and first responders, you know, Staten Island, who actually responded to it. And those are some pretty crazy stories that they tell. If you guys ever get a chance to, you know, the Joe and Andruzzi story about it, his brothers were Staten Island firefighters, and one of his younger brothers, it was his first day on the job. And could you imagine having to do that on your first day? And luckily they survived. They responded to it. But that whole day, they didn't even know, you know, where each other's were or anything like that. And they had to go through the whole day of it. And, you know, and finally at the end of the day, they were able to get reconnected with each other and knew each other was safe. But it was a pretty crazy story. And then they came up, I think their first Patriot football game that they played after that, those two brothers took the American flag out onto the field there with Joe and Andruzzi and on the Patriot home game. So that was pretty cool of them to do. And then, but I do remember too, I went to the Yankee playoff games afterwards, and just you got a little puppy that bear. So they used, I guess they had to use cadaver dogs and everything else to probably try to find people and everything else. But I remember going to the Yankee games, and, you know, they were obviously making that run into the World Series. They lost to the Diamondbacks, unfortunately, but, man, like, those games were awesome to go to live. And, that's crazy. You get the towers in the background, and that's where you were when you died. Insurance broker. Yeah, there was a lot of insurance companies back there. But I remember, too, with the Yankee games, they had, like, all the security kept coming onto the field. The horses were going onto the field. But I went to a couple of the ALDS games, and And those were pretty fun. Those were good games to go to, fun games to go to. But definitely changed how everything was, right? Because I remember going to Yankee Stadium in northern Jersey. We could drive, 25 minutes. We could get there, and you could get $5 seats in the bleacher section. Sit with the bleacher creatures, and no problem getting into the stadium, getting out of the stadium. It's an hour before game time. We're like, you want to go to a game? Sure, let's go to a game. And you can go in there, no problem, and zip in and out. Buy a ticket for $5. But then after 9/11, right? Security measures taking place, everything else is, changed, and you couldn't just do that anymore. I mean, you could still get the $5 bleacher seats for a little bit longer after that, but then they changed all that too. But all the security measures that went into place, it took time to get into the stadium. You couldn't just go in and out anymore anywhere. So really changed the whole face of how we conducted ourselves. And not only at the, so this is talking about when the tower fell, but yeah, pretty solid. Jeez, I mean, it's just tough that, yeah, so here you see, I don't know if you can see in this card, like the smoke, right, coming out. So this is after the buildings have fell. They put out the fires already, and they stationed those in the Hudson River. But you could see that smoke. So where I was at college, you just look up in the sky, and that's what you saw for the longest time. But yeah, crazy. And the towers falling. You get they're just trying to ferry everyone out of there as quick as they could. But Little League? What is this? The Heroes, I guess they did a tribute to 9/11. But that's them, I guess, clearing out the towers and everything else. But Philip Hayes. So pretty cool that they do this, though, that they, oh, he was a firefighter too. Fire safety director. So not what I would normally open up here for polypacks. That's what I was figuring this was. It had to be some sort of tribute, but I couldn't find anything online about these. Or I looked them up just to see what was going on with them. And, but, it's a nice way to kind of keep the memory of these people alive a little bit and raise awareness for these kind of causes and everything else. But yeah, it was a crazy day for sure. And then I think a few weeks afterwards, there was another plane that crashed due to, I don't think you would necessarily need to show that part of it all, but especially if you're trying to preserve people's memories. But I think there was a plane that was going to like the Dominican Republic, and it crashed in Queens, and people immediately thought that was another terrorist attack, but I think it just so happened to be a mishap. But all right, well, those were those cards. Not necessarily the most cheerful cards I've gone through, but again, everybody has a 9/11 story, or was impacted by this, whether you lived in that area or you didn't, right? And, even to my wife, her grandparents, their neighbors, their daughter and husband were actually on their way to their honeymoon, and they were on the plane that crashed into the tower. So people got impacted by this in all sorts of different ways. So on the one hand, I'm glad that these cards existed, right? Or do exist, to keep these folks' memories alive and pay tribute to them. And hopefully they did raise some money on, selling a bunch of these cards and gave it to the families. At least you hope, anyway. And then, you hear about a lot of health problems too from people who are at the scene or, inhaled all that dust. So there was big economic impact. There was big, personal impact. There was big mental impact. And then obviously there's impact to everybody in our days and lives now, right? How much security do we have to deal with because of all of this? Which, I guess in the end is for the best. You want to be safe. But All right, but I still have a few other different packs to go through, but again, I don't know if you guys have any stories you guys want to share, you know, feel free to put it in the comments. You know, if there's, I hope I didn't come across anybody in these cards that you knew, but in the meantime, you know, again, feel free to comment about it, and we will catch you guys in the next one. All right, guys, bye.